She walked between the tall shelves, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The station's library was huge. Books and data files from 100 different worlds filled the space. Claire had never been much of a reader before. She was a warrior. Fighting was what she knew. But now she needed to learn about humans. Her people, the Vrexians, were making new deals with Earth. Someone had to understand these strange creatures. That someone was her. Claire turned a corner and saw him. A human man sat at a desk, his face lit by a blue screen. He was reading something, his eyes moving quickly across the words. He had dark hair and wore simple gray clothes. Nothing special, nothing that made him stand out. She walked closer. He looked up and smiled. It was a small smile, gentle. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice was soft. Claire was used to loud voices, strong voices. Her people spoke with force. This human spoke like he was afraid to disturb the silence. "I need books about human culture," she said. "Your fighting styles, your history." The man nodded. He stood up. He was tall, but not as tall as Claire. Most beings were not as tall as Claire. "I can help with that. I'm Ryan, I work here." "Claire," she said. "Ambassador Claire Voss." Ryan led her to a different section. He moved quietly, smoothly. He pulled out several books and handed them to her. "These should help. Human military history, martial arts, cultural studies. If you need more, just ask." Claire took the books. They were heavy. She looked at Ryan. He was already walking back to his desk. "Wait," she said. "You are human. Can you answer questions?" Ryan turned. "Of course. What do you want to know?" "Why are humans so weak?" The words came out harder than she meant. But it was true. Humans had no natural armor. No claws, no great strength. They seemed fragile. Ryan smiled again. It was not an angry smile. "We are weak," he said. "That's why we learned to think. That's why we learned to adapt. We had to." Claire frowned. She did not understand. Ryan sat down at a nearby table. He pointed to the chair across from him. Claire sat. "Imagine," Ryan said, "that you are a small creature. Everything around you is bigger and stronger. What do? You die," Claire said, "or you get clever. You make tools. You work with others. You learn the patterns of your enemies. You survive not because you are strong, but because you refuse to give up." His eyes were calm as he spoke. "That is humanity." Claire studied him. This quiet man with his soft voice. She had fought in 30 battles. She had killed enemies with her bare hands. But something about the way Ryan spoke made her pause. There was something underneath his gentleness. Something solid. She came back the next day, and the day after that. Each time Ryan was there. He answered her questions. He showed her old human texts. He told her stories about Earth's history. Wars that lasted years. People who fought against impossible odds and won. Weeks passed. Claire found herself looking forward to their talks. Ryan never tried to impress her. He never boasted. When she told him about her victories, he listened carefully. He asked questions that made her think. "Do you ever regret the fights?" he asked one day. No one had ever asked her that. Claire was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Just a little, some of them," she said quietly. "Not all." "But some," Ryan nodded. "That means you're thinking about what matters. That's important." 3 months after they first met, Claire realized something. She cared about this human, not as a source of information, not as a diplomatic contact. She cared about Ryan as a person. The thought scared her. Vrexians did not form bonds easily. They chose mates based on strength and honor. Ryan was neither a warrior nor particularly strong. Her family would be angry. Her people would not understand. But Claire had never cared much about what others thought. She had earned her place through battle. She would choose her own path in this too. One evening she found Ryan in the library's garden section. Plants from different worlds grew under artificial light. He was reading as always. "Ryan," she said. He looked up. "I want to ask you something." "Of course. In my culture, the strong must choose their own mate. It is a test of judgment. I have fought many battles. I have proven my strength. Now I choose." She took a breath. "I choose you. Will you marry me?" Ryan was very still. For a moment, Claire thought he would say no. Then he closed his book carefully. He stood up and walked to her. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Your people will not approve." A quiet human librarian. "They will think you are making a mistake." "Let them think what they want," Claire said. "I know what I see. You have something that matters more than strength. You have wisdom, Ryan smiled. It was a bigger smile this time. Real and warm. Then yes. I will marry you. The ceremony was small. Only a few friends came. Claire's sister Nina attended, though she did not look happy. Commander Dan Fletcher, Ryan's friend from the security office, stood as witness. When it was time to exchange rings, Ryan pulled out a simple iron band. It looked old, worn smooth by time. This was my grandfather's, Ryan said as he placed it on her finger. He gave it to me before he died. He said to give it to someone who understood what really mattered. Claire looked at the ring. It was not fancy. It was not made of rare metals. But it was real. Just like Ryan, she smiled and took his hand. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The first year of their marriage was peaceful. Claire continued her work as ambassador. Ryan kept working in the library. They shared a small apartment near the station's center. Life was simple and good. Then the messages started coming. Claire was in a council meeting when the first warning arrived. A group called the Sovereignty Front was gaining power in the outer sectors. They were made up of warrior races, species that believed strength was everything. They had one message for the galaxy. Humans were weak. Humans did not belong on the Galactic Council. At first, Claire thought it was just talk. Every few years, someone complained about council members, but this time was different. The Sovereignty Front had real power. They controlled trade routes. They had military ships. They were not just talking. They were preparing to act. The council held emergency meetings. Claire argued for humanity. She spoke about their intelligence, their creativity, their ability to solve problems, but other ambassadors laughed. They are clever, yes, one ambassador said, but clever does not win wars. When the Sovereignty Front comes, what will humans do? Write them a poem? The room filled with laughter. Claire felt her anger rise, but she kept it controlled. Getting angry would not help. That night she came home tired and frustrated. Ryan was making dinner. He looked up as she entered. Bad day? He asked. They do not respect humans, Claire said. She sat down heavily. They think you are weak. They think you cannot defend yourselves. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Let them think that. How can you say that? They want to remove Earth from the council. This is serious. It is serious, Ryan agreed. He brought her food and sat down. But being underestimated has always been humanity's advantage. When people think you are weak, they make mistakes. Claire wanted to argue, but she was too tired. She ate in silence. The situation got worse. 3 weeks later, Claire's sister Nina arrived at the station. Nina was a high commander in the Vrexian military. She did not visit unless something was very wrong. They met in Claire's office. Nina's face was hard. The Sovereignty Front has given us an ultimatum, she said. The Vrexian Empire must publicly say that humans are not worthy of the Council. If we do not, they will cut all trade with us. They will treat us as enemies. That is blackmail, Claire said. Yes, but it is effective blackmail. Our economy depends on those trade routes. Our people will suffer if we lose them. Nina looked at her sister. The Council is meeting in 3 days. They will vote on what to do. And you want us to abandon Earth? I want us to survive, Nina said. Her voice was sharp. You married a human. I understand that. But you cannot let personal feelings destroy our people. Claire stood up. She felt anger burning in her chest. But she kept her voice level. She had learned that from Ryan. This is not about my husband, she said. This is about what is right. The Sovereignty Front wants to bully everyone. If we give in now, they will keep demanding more. We need to stand firm. Nina shook her head. Standing firm requires strength. What strength do humans have? Show me their great warriors. Show me their powerful fleet, she paused. You cannot, because they have nothing. After Nina left, Claire sat alone for a long time. Maybe her sister was right. Maybe she was letting her feelings cloud her judgment. She thought about all the humans she knew. Ryan, gentle and quiet. Commander Fletcher, a good soldier but not legendary. Ambassador Jake Morrison, clever with words but not with weapons. Where were the human warriors? Where was their strength? The next council meeting was chaos. The Sovereignty Front's ambassador, a massive creature named Vormak, stood at the center of the room. He was twice Claire's height, covered in natural armor, with 4 arms ending in claws. The time for talk is over, Vormak announced. His voice boomed through the chamber. We demand proof. If humans claim they deserve a place on this council, They must prove it through the ancient trial. Single combat. Champion against champion. The room went silent. The trial he spoke of was old, from the early days of the council. It was rarely used now, but the rules were clear. If challenged, a species had to accept or lose their council seat immediately. Ambassador Morrison stood. His face was pale but determined. "We accept the challenge," he said. Claire's heart sank. She knew what would come next. Formac smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. The trial will be held in 7 days. Choose your champion well, humans. You will need all the luck you can find." That evening, Claire found Ryan in their apartment. He was sitting by the window, looking out at the stars. She told him what happened. "Formac has never lost a fight," she said. 300 years. 300 years of victories. Whoever faces him will die." Ryan did not turn around. He was very still. "Who will humanity choose?" he asked quietly. Commander Fletcher volunteered.
"He is brave."
But Claire paused. She could not say it. Fletcher was a good man, but he was not good enough. Ryan nodded slowly. "Fletcher is a fine soldier. He will die," Claire said. The words hurt to speak. Maybe. Claire walked to the window. She put her hand on Ryan's shoulder. He reached up and held it. "I am sorry," she said. "I tried to protect Earth. I tried to make them see. But I failed." "You did not fail," Ryan said. His voice was soft but firm. "You stood up for what was right. That matters." They sat together in the darkness, watching the distant stars. Neither of them spoke about what would happen in 7 days. They did not need to. They both knew humanity would fight, and humanity would probably lose. 6 days before the trial, Claire came home late. The council meetings had been long and painful. Everyone knew Fletcher would lose. They were just arguing about what to do after. She opened the door to their apartment and stopped. The lights were dim. Ryan stood in the center of the room. He was looking at something on the floor. An old chest made of dark metal. Claire had never seen it before. "What is that?" she asked. Ryan did not answer right away. He bent down and opened the chest. From inside, he pulled out a uniform. It was black with no markings, no insignia, just simple black fabric. Then he pulled out a sword. Claire felt her breath catch. The sword was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The blade was dark, almost black. It seemed to drink the light around it. The edge looked impossibly sharp. "Ryan?" Her voice was uncertain. This was not the man she knew. This was someone else. He turned to face her. His eyes were different. Still calm, still gentle. But something had changed. "I need to tell you something," he said. "I should have told you before, but I wanted to leave it behind." Claire sat down slowly. She did not take her eyes off the sword. "Before I worked in the library," Ryan said, "I had a different job, a different life." He paused. "I was Captain Ryan Hayes, shadow operative. Special Forces." The words did not make sense at first. Claire tried to match them with the quiet man she married. It was like trying to fit 2 different puzzles together. "Shadow operative?" she asked. "I have never heard of this. Most people have not. We kept it secret. Before Earth joined the Council, there were wars. Small wars but brutal. Pirates, raiders, colonies under attack. Someone had to handle the problems that normal soldiers could not." He looked at the sword in his hand. That was us. Claire felt cold. All this time she thought she knew him, but there had been a whole part of his life hidden away in a metal chest. "How many?" she asked. "How many missions?" 43, over 8 years. His voice was steady, but she could hear the weight behind the words. "I did what needed to be done. I protected people. But there was a cost. Why did you stop?" "Because I was good at it, too good. And that scared me." He sat down on the floor, still holding the sword. "You can only see death for so long before it starts changing you. I felt myself becoming something cold, something that only knew how to fight, so I left. I found the quietest job I could find. I wanted to build something instead of breaking things." Claire looked at him. She thought about all their conversations, all the times he had listened to her stories of battle. He had never judged. He had never told her his own stories. "You lied to me," she said. The hurt was sharp in her chest. "I did not lie. I just did not tell you everything. That person, the soldier, he is not who I am anymore." He looked up at her. "But he is still part of me. And now humanity needs him." Claire understood then. Her anger faded, replaced by something more complicated. "You want to be the champion," she said. "You want to fight Vormak. Fletcher is a good man. But he will die. Vormak has centuries of experience. Fletcher has 15 years. Ryan stood up. The sword hung at his side, looking natural there. I have a chance. Maybe not a good chance, but a chance. You could die too. Yes, but if I do not try, humanity loses everything, and I spent too many years fighting to protect my people. I cannot stop now just because I wanted a peaceful life. Claire stood up. She walked to him. She touched the sword, feeling the cold metal. Then she looked at Ryan, really looked at him. The gentle eyes were still there, but now she could see what had always been underneath. Strength, discipline, a core of iron wrapped in kindness. This sword, she said, it looks old. It is made from a fallen satellite. We recovered the metal and forged weapons from it. Each shadow operative carried one. The edge is quantum sharpened. It can cut through almost anything. He paused. The ring I gave you was made from the same metal. A piece of my old life transformed into something new. Claire looked at her hand. The simple iron band caught the light. She had thought it was just a plain ring. Now she understood. It was a promise. A connection to his past and his future. I do not know what to feel, she admitted. Part of me is angry that you kept this secret. Part of me is proud. Part of me is afraid. All of those are fair, Ryan said. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner. But I am not sorry for who I was. That person brought me here. To you, Claire took a deep breath. She thought about Vrexian tradition. The strongest must choose wisely. She had chosen Ryan because he was different, because he was gentle and wise, but maybe she had also sensed something deeper. Maybe part of her had known all along that there was steel beneath the softness. If you do this, she said, I will support you. Not because I want you to fight, but because I trust your judgment. You know your own abilities better than anyone else. Ryan reached out and took her hand, the one with the ring. He held it gently. Thank you, he said, for understanding, for not seeing me differently. I do see you differently, Claire said honestly, but not in a bad way. I see more of you now, all of you. The next morning, Ryan went to the human delegation offices. Ambassador Morrison was there with several advisors, including Commander Fletcher. They were planning the trial, talking about strategies, preparing for Fletcher's fight. Ryan walked in. He was wearing his old uniform. The sword was strapped to his back. Fletcher saw him first. The commander's eyes went wide. Then he smiled. A real smile full of relief. Captain Hayes, Fletcher said, I was wondering when you would show up. Morrison looked confused. He did not know Ryan's history. Few people did. I am here to volunteer, Ryan said simply, as humanity's champion. You are a librarian, Morrison said. With respect, we need a warrior. Fletcher stepped forward. He is a warrior, sir. One of the best Earth has ever produced. Captain Ryan Hayes, Shadow Operative. Classified service record, 43 successful missions, 0 failures. Morrison looked between Ryan and Fletcher. Slowly, understanding came to his face. Can you win? Morrison asked. Ryan met his eyes. I do not know. But I have a better chance than anyone else we have. Morrison nodded slowly. Then he smiled. It was a tired smile but hopeful. Then you are our champion. May luck be with you, Captain. The Grand Arena was the largest space on Meridian Prime. Usually it hosted diplomatic ceremonies and cultural events. Today it would host a trial by combat. 50,000 beings filled the seats. Representatives from every council race were there. The trial was being broadcast across the galaxy. Billions would watch. Claire sat in the section reserved for ambassadors. Her sister Nina was beside her. Neither of them spoke. What was there to say? The arena floor was bare metal, 100 meters across. No cover, no advantages. Just empty space. Vormak entered first. The crowd roared. He was massive, 3 meters tall, his body covered in thick natural armor. He carried 2 war axes, each one bigger than a human. He had fought in this arena 27 times before. He had won every single match. He raised his axes to the crowd. They cheered louder. Then Ryan entered. The crowd went quiet. Then they started laughing. Ryan looked small compared to Vormak. He wore simple black combat clothes. His sword hung at his side. No armor, no backup weapons. Just a man and a blade. Claire heard the beings around her making jokes, betting on how quickly the human would fall. Some said 10 seconds. Others were more generous and said 30. Ryan walked to the center of the arena. He did not react to the laughter. He just stood there waiting. His face was calm. Vormak walked forward. He looked down at Ryan and smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I will make this quick," Vormak said. "You are too small to give me a proper fight." Ryan looked up at him. "You should not underestimate humans. We have survived a long time by being underestimated." The referee, a neutral council member, raised his hand. "Begin." The hand dropped. Vormak charged immediately. His axes swung in a huge arc meant to cut Ryan in half. The crowd leaned forward, ready to see the end. Ryan moved. He did not block. He did not try to meet force with force. He simply was not there anymore. The axes cut through empty air. Ryan had stepped aside, smooth and easy. Vormak spun, bringing his axes back. Ryan ducked under them. The blade whistled over his head. Again and again, Vormak attacked. Each time Ryan avoided the blow. He moved like water, flowing around the attacks. His sword stayed in its sheath. He had not even drawn it yet. The laughter in the crowd died. People started to pay attention. This was not what they expected. Claire watched with her heart in her throat. She recognized what Ryan was doing. He was learning. Each attack told him something. How fast Vormak moved. Which side he favored. Where his patterns were. Vormak grew frustrated. He roared and charged again. This time he added a kick, trying to catch Ryan off guard. Ryan saw it coming. He jumped impossibly high. He flipped over Vormak's head and landed behind him. As he landed, his sword came out of its sheath. The blade caught the light. The crowd gasped. The sword had cut through the back of Vormak's natural armor. Just a thin line, barely deep. But it had cut through armor that was supposed to be unbreakable. Vormak touched his back. His hand came away wet. He looked at the blood, then at Ryan. For the first time, there was no mockery in his eyes. There was respect. "You are fast," Vormak admitted. "Speed is not enough," Ryan said. He held his sword ready. "But it helps." The fight began again. This time Vormak was more careful. He tested Ryan with smaller strikes. Ryan responded in kind. Their weapons met, ringing through the arena. Each time they clashed, sparks flew. The crowd was completely silent now. This was not a quick execution. This was a real fight. Ryan spoke as they fought. His voice was quiet, but in the silence of the arena, everyone could hear. "You fight well," he said. 300 years of experience. You have seen everything." "I have," Vormak replied. He swung both axes in a complex pattern. Ryan blocked one, dodged the other. "But you have always been strong. You have always had armor. You never needed to be clever." Ryan's sword flashed out. Another cut, this time on Vormak's arm. "Humans are different. We had no armor, no claws, no natural weapons. So we learned to think. We learned to adapt." Vormak attacked harder. He was getting desperate. His attacks were powerful but less controlled. Ryan saw the openings and took them. Cut after cut appeared on Vormak's body. None were deep enough to stop him, but they were adding up. "You cannot win," Vormak growled. "I am stronger." "Yes, you are," Ryan agreed. He was breathing harder now. The fight was taking its toll on him too. But strength is not everything. Humans have won wars against enemies stronger than us. We did it by refusing to give up. By finding the weak points. By being willing to sacrifice. Vormak roared and launched his final technique. It was a move he had perfected over centuries. Both axes came down in a scissor pattern, meant to crush his opponent from both sides. Nothing could survive it. Ryan did not try to avoid it. Instead, he moved forward. Toward the attack, Claire almost screamed. It looked like suicide. But Ryan had judged the distance perfectly. He stepped inside the reach of the axes, so close that they could not hurt him. So close he could touch Vormak. His sword moved. One precise strike. The blade cut through both axe handles at once. The axe heads fell to the ground with a loud clang. Vormak stood there, holding broken handles, stunned. Ryan's sword came to rest against Vormak's throat. The edge touched the skin but did not cut. Ryan was perfectly still. The arena was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. "You fought with honor," Ryan said quietly. "I respect that. But this match is over." Vormak looked at the sword against his throat. Then he looked at Ryan's face. He saw no anger there. No cruelty. Just calm determination. Slowly, Vormak nodded. He dropped the broken handles and took a step back. "I yield," he said. His voice carried across the arena. "The human has won." Ryan lowered his sword. He sheathed it in one smooth motion. Then he did something no one expected. He extended his hand to Vormak. An offer to help him stand properly. A gesture of respect. Vormak stared at the hand. In 300 years, no opponent had ever shown him mercy. No opponent had ever respected him in defeat. He reached out and took Ryan's hand. They stood there together, victor and defeated, showing the galaxy what honor truly meant. The crowd erupted. The sound was deafening. Cheers, shouts, disbelief. Claire found herself standing, tears running down her face. Her sister Nina was beside her, equally stunned. Ryan looked up at the stands. His eyes found Claire's. He smiled. It was the same gentle smile she had fallen in love with. The same man, just with all his pieces finally visible. Humanity had proven itself, not through cruelty or overwhelming force, but through skill, wisdom, and the simple refusal to give up. The council chamber was packed. Every seat was filled. Representatives from across the galaxy waited to hear the decision. The trial had been 3 days ago. Since then, everything had changed. The Sovereignty Front's momentum had collapsed. Vormak himself had spoken in favor of humanity, telling anyone who would listen that the humans had earned their place through honor and skill. Now it was time for the formal vote. Claire sat in her usual seat. Ryan was not there. He had refused to attend. He said the decision should be about humanity, not about one fight. But Claire could feel his presence anyway. Everyone was talking about him. The head counselor stood. The room fell silent. The trial has concluded, she announced. Humanity has proven its worth through trial by combat, as is tradition. The question before us now is simple. Do we recognize Earth's full membership in this council? She paused. The room was completely quiet. The vote is unanimous. Earth is recognized as a full member of the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. The chamber erupted in applause. Claire felt relief wash over her. It was done. Humanity was safe. But the real changes were only beginning. Over the next few weeks, dozens of species that had been neutral or even hostile began opening diplomatic channels with Earth. They wanted to understand humans better. They wanted to know what other secrets humanity might be hiding. Ryan became famous overnight. His face was everywhere. News broadcasts wanted interviews. Military academies wanted him to teach. Politicians wanted to use his image. He said no to almost everyone. He gave one press conference. Claire stood beside him as cameras flashed. Ryan spoke for 5 minutes. He talked about the importance of choosing when to fight and when to build. He said that humanity's real strength was not in combat, but in the wisdom to know when combat was necessary. Then he politely declined all further interviews and went back to the library. Claire found him there one evening, a week after the vote. He was reorganizing a shelf of books, the same quiet work he had always done. You could have anything now, she said. Any position, any honor. People are calling you a hero. Ryan looked at her and smiled. That same gentle smile. I have what I want. A quiet job. A good wife, peace. He put a book on the shelf. I did not fight to become famous. I fought so that I could keep living this life. Claire walked to him. She took his hands in hers. The iron ring caught the light. I understand you better now, she said. When I married you, I thought I was choosing someone different from me. Someone who did not know war. But you knew it better than I did. You just also knew when to stop. That is the hardest lesson, Ryan agreed. Anyone can learn to fight. Few people learn when to put down the sword. That same day, Claire's sister Nina came to visit. She looked different. Less rigid. Less certain. I owe you an apology, Nina said. They were sitting in Claire's office. I was wrong about humans. I was wrong about your husband. You were trying to protect our people, Claire said. I understand that. Still, I judged based on appearance. That is a warrior's mistake. A good warrior looks deeper. Nina paused. Ryan taught me something. True strength is not about how hard you can hit. It is about knowing when to hit and when to hold back. Claire smiled. Her sister had learned the same lesson she had learned. Sometimes the quietest people carry the heaviest weight. A month after the trial, the human delegation offered Ryan a position. They wanted him to be their military advisor. They would give him whatever rank he wanted, whatever resources he needed. Ryan turned them down. Commander Fletcher came to talk to him about it. They met in a quiet cafe near the library. You could help a lot of people, Fletcher said. Train the next generation. Make sure humanity stays safe. There are plenty of good soldiers, Ryan replied. You are one of them. Humanity does not need more warriors right now. We need more builders, more diplomats, More people who can create connections instead of breaking them. Fletcher shook his head, but he was smiling. You have not changed at all. I have changed, Ryan said quietly. I used to think my job was to fight. Now I know my job is to make sure fighting is the last option, not the first. The sword went into a display case in the station's museum. Ryan donated it himself. The plaque beneath it read simply, a reminder that humanity's greatest weapon has always been the choice of when to draw it. Thousands of beings came to see it every day. They looked at the dark blade and thought about what it meant. Some saw a weapon. Some saw a symbol. Ryan saw it as a piece of his past that he had finally set down. One evening, 2 months after the trial, Ryan and Claire stood in the station's observation deck. The deck was a huge curved window that looked out at the stars. Ships moved in the distance, tiny lights against the black. They had been standing there for a while, not talking, just being together. Finally, Claire spoke. Do you ever regret it? Marrying me? All of this happened because of us. Ryan turned to look at her. In the starlight, her face was beautiful. No, he said simply. Meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. You reminded me why I fought in the first place. To protect the chance for different people to find common ground. To build something better. Claire took his hand. Their fingers laced together. The iron ring was warm against her skin. The council is talking about new initiatives, she said. Cultural exchange programs. Joint research projects. Things that bring species together instead of pushing them apart. That is good, Ryan said. That is what matters. Not one fight in an arena, but 1,000 small connections, 1,000,000 conversations. That is how we build something that lasts. They stood together watching the stars. Out there, humanity was building its future. Not through conquest or force, but through the same qualities that had always defined them. Adaptability, determination, the wisdom to know when to fight and when to make peace. And at the center of it all, a quiet man who had chosen love over glory, peace over fame. A man who understood that the strongest warriors are the ones who know when not to fight. Claire leaned against Ryan's shoulder. He put his arm around her. They had faced down an empire's ultimatum. They had proven humanity's worth. They had changed the galaxy, but in this moment none of that mattered. What mattered was this. 2 people who had found each other across the vastness of space. 2 different worlds that had learned to become one. I love you, Claire said quietly. Ryan smiled. I love you too. Outside, the stars shone. Ships traveled between worlds. Species that had once been enemies were learning to be friends. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely. And in a quiet corner of Meridian Prime, a librarian and a warrior stood together, looking at the future they had helped to build. A future where strength was measured not by how hard you could fight, but by how well you knew when fighting was necessary. Ryan had drawn his sword once. That was enough. Now it was time to build something that would never need the sword again. And that, he thought, was the real victory.